Hello and welcome to Everyday Lessons Every Day. I'm David McBee. Based on my book by the same name, this podcast is for those of us who believe in personal growth and want to improve every day. In this 2021 season, the stories come directly from people whose lives have been impacted in a positive way by an everyday lesson that they've learned. This is episode 31, Mindset, with Shannon Mossler. Shannon, welcome to Everyday Lessons Every Day. Thanks for being here.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
I'm excited to talk to you and hear about your book and your lesson. But before we jump right into it, could you tell everyone just a little about who you are? What's your resume, if you will?
Yeah. Hi, everyone. So I was born in Los Angeles, California, and came to school in Texas and stayed. So I'm currently in Fort Worth, Texas. I work for a digital advertising agency. I'm the youngest of 4 kids. And yeah, I love my life. I love the Dodgers and dogs and everything like that.
And you have 4 siblings or 3 siblings, you said?
Mm-hmm.
How old where do you fall into that?
I'm the youngest. Well, tied for last because I'm an identical twin. So
that's right. You do have an identical twin. And I'm going to ask you to tell your Instagram story here in a little bit. But first, tell me about, how long have you been at your career?
I've been at the digital advertising agency for just over 5 years.
And has much changed since you've gotten there?
Yeah, I've been able to really, been able to grow with the company, which is awesome. And so I started in a client success role, working with clients, answering any sort of questions that they had based on different campaigns they were running, and kind of evolved and actually had the opportunity to move departments into more of a sales role to kind of challenge, the selling process and to see where we can find some new revenue opportunities and everything like that. So it's been quite a journey and I love it.
And was that your first job right out of college?
It was. I was one of the lucky ones that fell in love with their job after college. So I've been very blessed.
Wow. You don't hear that very often anymore.
I know. I definitely don't take it for granted because I've had plenty of friends with some tough job situations. So I'm definitely grateful.
Very cool. All right. Well, tell us where your everyday lesson came from.
Yeah. So this was one of the first self-help type books that I read, and it really had a strong impression on me. So it's called The School of Greatness by Lewis Howes. And it came to me kind of right after graduating college. So right as I was fresh in my career. And, it's kind of overwhelming when you graduate and you feel like the whole world is open to you and you don't really know what to do. So you're just kind of shooting in the dark and hoping to catch something. So I saw this book and it just seemed very approachable. First of all, it said the word school on it, which I had done for the rest of the past of my life. So I was like, oh, school, I can do that. Just recognizing, the different lessons that he has and the people he involves, a lot of different people that kind of bring in this, what this idea of greatness is and how to cultivate it. And so it was just a really awesome book. I actually found out first from his podcasts where he interviews different people and finds out what greatness means to them. So that was kind of where it started. And then it evolved into me reading this book.
And for the record, I know about Lewis. You actually introduced me to him a couple of years ago, and he's been kind of a mentor for me. So tell me about the lesson that really helped improve your life or change your life or inspired you. Tell me about the lesson.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for me is the clarity of, I was reading through this book and trying to find, some sort of formula, some sort of, cheat sheet to like what, how to be successful, how to be great. And there really isn't one. So I found that, throughout reading this book, it's really the mindset that you have towards situations that you face. And I kind of broke it down because he has, multiple chapters kind of going over this, but I broke it down into 1, facing adversity and how you approach that adversity, 2, cultivating the champion mindset, and then 3, developing hustle. So I feel like throughout all of those 3, he really embraces this idea of a mindset and how you approach a situation to make yourself great and to make any sort of situation you're in basically the best it possibly can be.
Okay. And are there examples of how this has had an impact on your life?
Yeah, and I can kind of go through all of those as well. So I guess the first for the adversity approach. So he kind of goes in through talks about somebody named Kyle Maynard, who was a armless, legless wrestler. And he obviously faced a lot of adversity, but he kind of pushed through and worked towards becoming a really great wrestler, especially in high school, going up against state champions and everything like that. Continued his evolution of greatness by climbing Mount Kilimanjaro without any legs or arms. It's just, it's a remarkable story that he has. But one of the things that he said was, our perspective is always a choice. And so it kind of, grabbed me in a way, because it really is a choice. Do you decide to wake up every day and recognize all of the negativity, or do you choose more of a positive outlook? Luckily, the way I was raised by great parents, that I have always really been a positive person. So I've kind of, had that mindset in me, but, I never really thought of it as a choice, because I've always just been pretty positive. But I think it's a good way to start, that, you have a choice. You get to choose every day how you wake up and how you, go about your day, how you treat people that you see. As I was going through, my college career, I was really contemplating on what I wanted to do with my life. And I started actually as a pharmacist, studying chemistry to be a pharmacist. And quickly realized my first year of college that is not something that I wanted to do. And it was a huge struggle for me, because I, had never really not, said no to something, or, not found success. I feel like in elementary school and high school, you kind of just go with the classes that are given to you. So this is my first opportunity to kind of pick my own. And, it felt like almost a failure to be, not succeeding, or knowing that's not what I wanted to do. So I tried to figure out other options. I switched over to education, because I thought I wanted to be a teacher, and, found out that, took a few classes, found out that wasn't for me. And then I switched over to speech pathology, because I thought I wanted to work with people. I love, obviously you can tell all of these work with people, but so I'm very much a people person. But in working and switching to those different majors, I found a lot about myself and figuring out what I wanted, what I didn't, all those different things. And then finally found advertising and PR, which is what I ended up majoring in, and which is what my career is in. So obviously I love it.
Were you in school for like 10 years, Shannon?
No, luckily I still graduated in 4 years. I don't know, it's a miracle today, but
That is amazing.
yeah. But and I don't think it was meant for me to start in advertising and PR, because I wouldn't have learned, the lessons that I did in adversity, I guess you could call it. There's different levels of adversity, but really, it was a struggle for me, and it's shaped who I am today, just because it gave me that perspective that I needed. And as Kyle said, it's a choice on how you decide to approach the situation. Was I mad about it? Yes, of course. Was I frustrated? Of course. But I chose to keep moving forward and to keep being positive and trying to talk to other people in other majors, what that looked like, to really challenge the process and try to push myself even further.
Shannon, I think a lot of people in your situation would have taken that first chemistry class and said, maybe college isn't for me. Or maybe they'd try a second, major and go take those education classes. And wow, I've tried 2 majors now. Maybe college isn't for me. But it sounds like your mindset was one that was set on graduating college.
Yeah, definitely. Education was really important to me. I loved my school too. So every other aspect of it, I loved, and got involved in a lot of different things in school. So, my whole college experience was amazing. The academics part was, a little bit where, you figured out a lot about what I wanted to do and everything, but I wouldn't trade a second of my college career. So
very cool. All right, so you are graduated and you've got this new degree and you go find a job. And how's this book impacting you now?
Yeah, so continuing on with kind of the breakdown that I had, graduating from college, I think a lot of people get overwhelmed. I've had conversations as well with, graduating seniors, and they, even in my position, they're like, what do we do now? Like, what is that process? So it's overwhelming. There's so many different things you can do. You can choose the major that you have and go into that profession. You can run your own business. You can buy a house. I mean, maybe not with all the college debt, but there's a lot of different things that you can do. And I think the options to do that, you could move, you could, go back to your parents, whatever it is. There's just so many different things, and it's just overwhelming. For, I think, new graduates to kind of take that in. And for me, it was also overwhelming. I mean, I still feel that way sometimes today, that it's just, there's so many different things that you can be doing in your life, and you see what other people are doing, what society thinks you should be doing. And it's a lot of pressure to uphold to this idea of greatness. But truly, the greatness is what you choose it to be. So, kind of the second point that I had was cultivating a champion's mindset. And so, as that championship or the champion's mindset, you have to figure out what that is for you. It's going to look very different. Even as an identical twin, my sister and I are very different in what our ideas of greatness are and what our goals are and how we find success in our life. So, even just working on that is just, a challenge and a pressure. But one of the things he said is it's not an overnight task as well. So it's not something that just comes to you. I was hoping, like I said, to find some sort of formula to be great in this book. There isn't one, but it really is the mindset behind it that I've found is the formula and is what makes you feel successful and great, and how you approach every day.
I know you as a positive mindset kind of person, and I'm hoping that I could get you to share with the listeners what you and your sister did when the quarantine first started back in March of last year.
Oh, gosh. Yeah. So my sister and I, we lived together. And when everything first started, we were not anticipating this to last for a super long time, but we basically came up with different themes every day. So we would post them on our Instagram stories. It was more for, us to kind of have something to do every day. But also we found that, people would message us, and, people we hadn't heard from in years and just say, oh my gosh, this is so great. This is so funny. And, obviously we didn't do it for people, to message us or whatever, but it was so great to see, a little community in a time where all of us were kind of isolated. So we just came up with different themes every day. We had like a rock and roll theme, different movies. We had like a Top Gun theme and Elton John theme and Disney theme and all these different things, just to, try to make somebody laugh. And if, some people said like, I look forward to these every day, or, different things like that. And so we did it for actually 50 days. So we're not still going, because that would be, a lot. And we kind of lost our creativity after day like 45. So, but yeah, it was a great experience, and I loved being able to do it. So
I had fun checking into Instagram and seeing what you and your sister were doing every day. I looked forward to it, and I thought, man, the world is falling apart. We're all just hunkered down, and these two are having a ball together. So
yeah,
I thought that was great.
And believe it or not, it was all things we had at home. So we didn't go shopping or do anything. All of those crazy things that we had were all things from our house. So
that's crazy to me. How did you have all that stuff around?
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, your sister's a teacher, right?
That's true. So she had some of the stuff.
Yeah, I figure part of that was teacher stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, you have more to share with me?
Yes. So the last point was develop hustle. So, in cultivating that champion's mindset and, in starting my job, I found that I really wanted to be successful, as most people do, especially in their first job. And so I started in my job kind of keeping my head down and really, focusing on what I needed to do. And, not that I didn't talk to people, but I wasn't very vocal on a lot of things. And so, I figured, hard work was the way to go, and just, stay really late every night and do what I was supposed to do. And I quickly found out, well, maybe not quickly, but eventually found out that, that's not really what your job is supposed to be. It's supposed to be how you contribute to the company, how you contribute to your team. Not to say I wasn't doing that, but it was just in a different way. And so I think being able to work, developing that hustle, which I kind of already had in me to be able to work really hard, but taking that to another level and challenging the process of, working with people that I don't normally work with, finding people outside of your team to get perspective from, and, reaching out to other departments, seeing how the whole process worked, finding other clients who maybe had success somewhere and how you can replicate that across the board or something like that. So not just working in your own environment, but, challenging and finding other places where you can have that perspective and that success. So that has really worked well for me because I'm the type of person who likes to see the whole picture. So being able to, reach out and kind of reassess where I found success or I found, specifically in my job. And then past that, I do that in my life as well. I'm constantly reassessing, where I am. And I think society kind of forces us to do that. If you're not married by a certain age, or you don't have a good job at a certain age, or you don't feel successful. So I'm constantly reassessing that, not only in my work life, but also in, my personal life, what that looks like, how I find success, what kind of relationships that I have with other people. All those different types of things mean a lot to me and mean a lot to what, my journey to greatness or my journey to success really is.
I'm going to vouch for you on this bit about hustle, and I'm going to tell a story about you, if that's all right.
Oh, gosh.
Because you're very humble, and I just think that you should hear this. We were working with a client together. Well, actually, I was working with the client first, and you were put on the account. And they loved the person that they had before. They really did. And, sometimes that just happens. You shuffle accounts, right? And you get someone new. And I remember assuring this client that Shannon Mossler was up to the task and they were going to absolutely love you. And I felt so much confidence in that statement because I knew what a hustler you were. I've seen how hard you work. And I remember getting an email from them after they met you and worked with you for just a couple of weeks. And they were like, oh my God, you were so right about her. She is amazing. So kudos to you, Shannon, for having that hustle, because you really impressed the hell out of that customer.
Well, that's awesome to hear. That's great.
I feel like that makes you uncomfortable. Am I wrong?
Yeah. I mean, I don't do it for the compliments. So, I mean, I love working with all of my clients, to be honest. So it's really great to be able to, even when you move past the day-to-day stuff and you get to, really get to know them and the day-to-day, aspects of their life. And yeah, it's been really great. And I think I know who you're talking about, and they're wonderful. So I'm very grateful for sure. All
right. Well, it sounds like School of Greatness had a big impact on your life. Do you still listen to that podcast?
I do occasionally. I've read a few books since then. So it's been nice to kind of grow into, I guess self-help would be what it is. But I always love getting perspectives and different opinions on, I always kind of base it off of what greatness is. But, there's a lot of different books out there, a lot of lessons. And so, for anybody who's, kind of debating or, just kind of listening to the voices around you, everything what society's saying. I mean, pick up a book and just gain somebody's perspective from, 300 pages of what they've written and the research they've done and the experiences they've had. It's amazing how much you can learn from somebody's story and how you can relate to that, even if it has nothing to do with, I can't relate necessarily to Lewis on many levels, but he breaks it down into such an approachable way that you can really make it, relevant to your life.
I totally agree. I think consuming positive content specifically from self-help books could make the whole world a better place.
Yeah, no, totally. It's been such a cool part of more of my adult life to be able to pick up a book and learn something from it. So I have like a book list that I, read and I'm currently reading. And then, in the future, I have a full list of things that I also want to read. So
very cool. Very cool. Well, I really appreciate you sharing your time with me this morning, and thank you very much.
Thank you so much, David. I really appreciate you having me here. It's been super fun, and yeah, thank you so much.
All right. Thank you, Shannon.
Well, I don't know if it was apparent or not. I'm guessing it probably was, but I really admire Shannon. She definitely embodies that champion mindset. Her work ethic and hustle have earned her the respect of her clients and peers, including me. I also want to extend a special thanks to Shannon because thanks to my incompetence or some technical glitch, I'm not sure which is to blame, we had to do this interview twice. So thank you, Shannon, for being a good sport. If you'd like to connect with Shannon, the best place to do so is on LinkedIn. Her name is spelled ShannonMossler. Normally, this is the part of the podcast where I challenge you to take what you've heard and implement it in your life. Rather than doing that, I'd like to read a quote from Shannon just in case you missed it. She said, Pick up a book and gain somebody's perspective from 300 pages of what they've written and the research they've done and the experiences they've had. It's amazing how much you can learn from somebody's story. Let me know what happens when you implement this lesson by reaching out to me personally or posting your story on social media with the hashtag #EverydayLessonsEveryday. And if you like this podcast, please share it with a friend. Let's see if together we can make the world a better place. Finally, if you or someone you know has an everyday lesson that they'd like to share, I'd love to hear from them. Put us in touch. I can be reached at david@davidmcbee.com. I'll see you next time. Now go out there and do something awesome.